where President Donald Trump says the government should get a cut from the sale of TikTok's U.S. unit if an American firm buys it. The U.S. president said he made a demand for a substantial portion of the purchase price in a phone call at the weekend with Microsoft's boss. He also warned he will ban the app, which is owned by China's ByteDance, on 15th September if there is no deal. We have more in this report.
Potential shotgun wedding with Microsoft for TikTok's U.S. operations provoked an outcry on Monday, both throughout Chinese social media and from a prominent Chinese investor in TikTok, ByteDance. The U.S. tech giant formally declared its interest on Sunday after President Donald Trump, who has cited national security risks posed by the Chinese-owned short video app, reversed course on a planned ban and gave the two firms 45 days to come to a deal.
I think that, it's important news because it has to do with U.S.-China relations. I think that it is a positive step that Microsoft may be able to buy TikTok. They have already made some moves in order to do so and let the Trump administration know that they are going to do so that TikTok doesn't have to divest of its interest in the U.S. I think Microsoft would make sure that TikTok is secure and also compliant with U.S. regulatory standards, which, by the way, TikTok already claims to be, but this would help to give it that extra layer of certainty.
Meanwhile, President Donald Trump said the U.S. government should receive a big percentage of the proceeds from any sale of the U.S. operations of TikTok to Microsoft. He said the U.S. would make any sale of the Chinese-owned video app possible and therefore deserves a share of the proceeds, whether it comes from China or Microsoft.
We make it possible to have this great success. TikTok's a tremendous success, but a big portion of it's in this country. It would come from the sale, yeah. Whatever the number is, it would come from the sale.
And then you
Which nobody else would be thinking about but me. But that's the way I think, and I think it's very fair.
And you mentioned,
but we want no security problems with China. It's got to be an American company.
The proposed acquisition of parts of TikTok, which boasts 100 million U.S. users, would offer Microsoft a rare opportunity to become a major competitor to social media giants such as Facebook and Snap. Shares in Microsoft, which owns the business social media network LinkedIn and is also seeking to buy TikTok's Canadian, Australian and New Zealand interest, rose nearly 3% in early trades on Monday. ByteDance is under pressure to sell its U.S. business after Mr. Trump threatened a crackdown on Chinese tech companies.
And financial analyst Gbenga Onifade joins me from Kent, England, via Skype to discuss this developing story. Good to have you join us, Gbenga Onifade. Now, this statement coming from President Trump that the United States should get a cut from the sale of TikTok to U.S. tech giant Microsoft if that deal goes through. Now, would that be a normal thing to do during mergers and acquisitions?
No, actually, this is a different ball game. But what he's trying to do is not illegal at all, because there's an unwitting acronym, actually, an organization which was formed in 1971, CFIUS, which is a Committee for Investments in the United States, which allows the government to be able to scrutinize any foreign organization who's going to have an access in the United States. So what he's trying to do is not exactly illegal, but it's actually a shrewd way to get involved in this acquisition.
So TikTok has two options here. One is to sell to Microsoft or any other American company, or the other would be for the country to be shut down in the U.S. alone. Is there a win-win solution for TikTok?
I think it's a win-win solution for both TikTok and the United States as well, and especially if you think about Microsoft, who are looking to expand the base in China. But I think what we're trying to, the key problem here is that this is actually a distraction. If you think about it, you've got two big players in the field, and they play by different rules, but they're actually vying for the same people. So either way, with the U.S. government trying to seek into this, they would totally have to divest the business to Microsoft, who would eventually tend to have a bit of the pie of course, on the social media game. So you might actually think TikTok will be winning. And TikTok, they've actually tried everything they can. They said the data is stored in America, and they've got the backup in Singapore. So either way, TikTok will be winning because they're going to have an access in America. But at the same time, with the US involvement or the US government involvement, their business will totally be divested. They want to make sure that Microsoft are winning, in this game. They want to have the whole data, and at the same time, they want to make sure the infrastructure. Because if you think about Microsoft, they just literally won, recently, they won the contract, the JEDI contract from the US government, which has a lot of backing up of the Department of Defense. So you might say US government have a big stake and they are interested, of course, for just reasons. But at the same time, TikTok want to have a bit of a taste. So it might be a win-win for both of them in this case, yes.
So the larger issue here is security. American authorities are sort of worried about having American data in the hands of Chinese. So will the takeover by Microsoft resolve this issue?
Well, Microsoft, they've actually been someone who really gets in bed very well with the United States, which I've just mentioned, the recent JEDI contract which they've got. If you look at the last week's Congress, which looks at the four big tech organizations, Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon, Microsoft wasn't actually there, even though they are part of them, and they think, are they too big to fail? Microsoft's, we're looking at an over $1 trillion organization, which should have been invited, but they've actually been playing very well, getting in bed with the United States, and them not being in there, I don't see any issue at all. So Microsoft actually the government do trust Microsoft in terms of data handling and infrastructure, but at the same time, I don't see them as a problem at all. It's just a way whereby instead of Microsoft, being a partaker of this, I think United States would rather own the when you're talking about this TikTok, 30% of this organization, they just want to own it fully instead.
But we know that Microsoft has never really been involved in social networking. They have done more of gaming, software, and as well as search engines. So how do we see Microsoft running this? Because a lot of people thought that Facebook or Google should have taken over TikTok.
It's actually funny because it's quite funny you say that, because Microsoft, I think a lot of people overlook the Minecraft, which is Microsoft itself, they've always been a consumer discretion or consumer facing industry. So they recently purchased Minecraft 2016. They paid about $26.2 billion for LinkedIn. Unfortunately, LinkedIn is not really doing as great. I think the latest earnings report, they fell by 10%. So Microsoft is able to, they could be able to get this at a really good price. In fact, at any price at all. So if you think about the social media area, for example, YouTube is actually cornered by Google, and Facebook is actually cornered the whole big time. You're looking at Instagram and Facebook. So I think Microsoft are just trying to find that opportunity, to just follow that theme or that trend, and of course to expose themselves when it comes to the customer facing, part of their business. So I think they're well and capable to be able to do that. And they've actually done Skype ages ago, but Skype is not exactly a social media now, and it's actually really been doing very well. But since Satya Nadella, the CEO, took over in 2014, Microsoft has actually been, the shares have been able to go 500%. And he's actually had been able to take Microsoft in a different direction entirely. So I don't see Microsoft not being able to take over that at all and not being able to do very well in this field.
All right, so let's look at the larger picture here. We know that the U.S. had this trade war with China in 2018, and then it was resolved. There was some sort of agreement in January this year. We've also seen the issues with Huawei 5G and now TikTok. Are there far-reaching consequences for the economies of both countries?
Well, like I said, if you think about both of these guys, these are two big guys vying to be for global domination. And I think, like I said earlier on, TikTok is more of a little bit of a distraction, really, because if you think about the Chinese government, I think while we might think, okay, you don't want to trust the big organization like the likes of Google, Amazon, Facebook, but at the same time, you want to trust the Chinese government less with your data. So. Speaking, or answering your question in this case, both of them are vying for the same thing. And even though Amazon or Microsoft rather, who hasn't really got a big play in China, rather than them just having a little bit of that pie, I think they just want to they want to divest the whole lot, which is, we're looking at the USA, USA, United Kingdom, New Zealand, Australia, and Canada. They just want to divest that whole aspect of TikTok, which is only about 30% of them. And so either way, it's a win for us. It's a win for America. But on the bigger side, it's probably not going to be China that's going to be winning, because at the end of the day, we're not looking at TikTok China anymore now. So we're just looking at TikTok USA, TikTok Canada, TikTok UK, which is being totally divested to United States. So instead of America trying to make it a win-win whereby they're both partakers, but rather they just want to take a whole lot to the United States, divide the whole company entirely. And you might think TikTok is China. They're trying their best. They've got the financial operation in Ireland. They've got the backup in Singapore, and they've got the data, which they said, in United States. One of the things also you've got to consider is last month the Congress invited TikTok to a conversation. TikTok didn't attend it really. So for a company that really say they're free, how come they really haven't got much to say? Are they hiding something? You don't really know that, do you?
Financial analyst Gbenga Onifade, thanks for talking to TVC News.
Thanks for having me.